the Austrian-audio Hi-X60 closed-back reference studio headphones. It's all about what you can hear and what you cannot hear and how they fit. Welcome to my review of these headphones here on my channel, Massive Beats. If you're not a subscriber yet, please hit that subscribe button, leave a comment for the algorithm. If you like the review, give it a thumbs up. So we're going to be doing an unboxing of these closed-back headphones, and then we're going to look at what type of different usage scenarios you could have with these, such as podcasting, mixing, recording, tons of things you can do with closed-back headphones, front of house, and so forth. But before we get started, a shout out to Martina from Music Marcom, who provided these headphones for a review. All right, I gotta admit, when I first heard Austrian-audio, I'm like, who the heck is Austrian-audio? I'm from Austria, I am audio, I've never heard of them. Well, they just started existing a few years after I moved from, well, Austria to LA. And so here's the story. AKG was bought in 1994 by Harman Kardon, by Harman. And they're like in cars now. They're doing like all this car stuff, surround stuff, and consumer electronics, but they also own JBL and a bunch of other brands. And then in 2017, they got bought by Samsung because Samsung wants the good sound from AKG and moved everybody to the Valley in LA. And these guys said, nope, we're not going. We're staying in Vienna. We have our own vision. We have a team. And Martin Seidel, the CEO, just built a team with his engineers and stayed in Vienna. And I respect that tremendously. That's not what I did. I went from here to there. Yep, I went. And I love it. But these guys didn't want to do that. Very committed to their mission. It's one of these stories where you don't give in to the big corporate buyout. You don't sell out. And to me, it really looks like they're focused on quality. Look at Martin Seidel here bending the crap out of this headphone, metal, all metal and built in Vienna, in Austria. And yeah, so build quality is very important to them. All right, but without further ado, let me take you back to my first impression when I first got them. And here's the unboxing of those headphones. Then we're going to take a listen and we're going to talk about what type of use case scenarios there could be. All right, let's have a look. This comes in a really nice box, and this wrapper here, this is actually cable ties, something they're very proud of. Well, it's saving the environment, right? Comes in this box. In this case, the Hi-X stands for high excursions, for the type of driver they have. Very neat box. Let's open it up. Let's check it out. Let's have a look. So you have a bag. And then immediately what I notice is the depth of those headphones, the distance from the drivers to the ears. There's like this elevated, kind of like old school look to them in a modern way. The cable, of course, it's a bayonet style. They're marked left and right on the inside, which can be helpful, because everything is red here, so red for right and white for left doesn't work here. Metallic, so it's metal, what should I say? And all those, I think they have over 130 parts in these headphones, and pretty much everything can be replaced. I like seeing screws. That gives me confidence for the build quality and that rotational swivel style. Lightweight, under 400 grams. And that headband here has that bump on the top, which removes a little bit of pressure. By the way, that is attached with Velcro to the metal. And so that can be exchanged as well. Everything pretty much can be exchanged and is available on their website. The bayonet style is a 2.5 millimeter, not the usual 3.5 millimeter. So they look good and they feel very solid. My first impression. The pads are also very soft. They have that memory foaminess to them. And again, the depth away from your ears is, I think, what gives them the some spatialness. It comes with two cables, a 1.2 meter and a 3 meters, a 12-foot cable. So a super long one and a super short one. It's great. When you walk around, in the city, you won't trip around. And in the studio, when you get up, you won't rip it out from the headphone. A slight turn to the right and it locks into place, slight turn to the left, and you can pull it back out. And they certainly look good in a studio. And again, the lightness and the comfort, that's something that's very important to avoid that fatigue. I like this little cable on the outside. It's a nice touch. And these ones are identifiable with the red. The other headphones we saw Martin handle earlier, they didn't have that red. I'm just giving you close-ups. And yeah, again, the cable ties, it's a nice touch. It's about being environmentally friendly and cutting down on waste. And so when it comes to a closed back headphone, to me, it's really, what am I going to use that for? Obviously, closed backs prevent, like I said earlier, what's not just only what you hear, but what you can't hear. It's the sound that doesn't travel to the outside, but also sound that doesn't travel in from the outside when you want to have a quiet environment and listen to music or check sound sources. They prevent also, mostly when you record, sound from getting back into the microphone. All right, so let's take a listen. I am using the Babyface RME Pro FS, which has an excellent headphone amp. Actually, it has two, one for low impedance headphones, one for high impedance headphones. But I'm still using the high impedance one, even though they're only 25 ohms. It just sounded better with it. So they need a little bit of power. I also have a Topping 3X Pro in the latest iteration of 16-inch MacBook Pro with the built-in high impedance headphone amp. But I gotta say, the RME audio interface and the Topping are just quite a bit better. Listening to Corey Wong here and Mark Lettieri with the baritone guitar, it's got that grunt, that thickness, nothing harsh, enough low end. There's no need to boost it, but not like other closed back headphones where it's just a little bit too much in mud. It's very precise. These 44 millimeter drivers, they designed those smaller drivers, but they have the ability to be fast and have a little bit of more of a amplitude going on. So they can reproduce the lows very, very well. There's precision in the lows, and that's not something you typically see with closed back headphones. Yeah, the vocals do not sit as forward in the front as they could, but we still get an acceptable amount of articulation and vocal textures in any type of vocal. So the mid-range is very well done. It's kind of natural. It's not harsh. It's just right. Plenty of detail. You can really separate kick, like in this track here, kick from bass. The vocal, it gets plenty of detail. The instruments are separated. The sound is wide and open. It's almost like some open back headphones. That is probably the impressive thing, that you now can get headphones that you can use for all the closed back headphone stuff, but also the open back stuff, which is mixing and mastering. Certainly doable. The bass is definitely deep. For me, it could use a few more dB. That's why I'm using real phones when boosting the bass a tiny bit, 5% maybe. And I also do with all my headphones, I do the cross feed, so left feeds into right and right feeds into left, but very little, so I don't overdo this feature. But yeah, I really like the way the bass is done. I mean, even low, very low frequency bass, it is there. It's just not pronounced. I also use the Topping 3X Pro. It's a dedicated headphone amp. It's maybe a 1% better than the RME Babyface. One thing, no ear fatigue, like, the motto of this track, Batiesto here. If you listen to music like this, it gets fatiguing pretty quickly because, the kicks hit so hard. And they do that, but they don't do that in an overwhelming way. So I really combine this with the lower weight of these headphones, relatively lower weight. I feel the pressure to the ears is ideal. I got a big head, and so normally headphones, sit pretty tight on my head, and I didn't feel that on those. It's very comfortable. And again, not in a piercing way, but like the bass, the attack is pretty fast. That's what they say is those 44 millimeter custom drivers, those high excursion drivers that kind of swing out quite a bit, but that are smaller, gives you that punchy bass. And yeah, you can hear that. That gives you a lot of information and, especially on kick drums and materials like that. The pop material, I must say, again, nothing harsh. Some of that stuff, in modern pop goes, there's a lot going on the side information. So like, on the stereo field and all of that kind of like everything retains its places nicely. The highs, the upper, upper mid range, and then, like the region over 8K, 10K, 12K, that's also kind of smooth without being dark. It's just a nice balance there. And then so the use scenario is I like bringing headphones to studio environments that I'm not used to. You can have NS10s or brand new ATCs in there and you haven't listened to them or haven't listened to things in a while. It's really, really good to bring your own reference with you. And if you are an artist, like I'm a bass player, I like to listen back to my tracks. I like to get a headphone mix. If you're a vocalist, maybe you want something better than the typical headphone that the studio provides. You could buy these headphones, use them to produce at home, but you can also use them to bring to the studio with you. I think that's an excellent idea because then you also know what you're going to be, how you sound, because you know those headphones. So I think it's a good investment for vocalists and artists, performers. Bring those with you. I think there's a benefit to it. And like I said, they sit super comfortably. They don't press down too hard, and they isolate. Some studios like here, there is an AC, not an AC hum. There's something, and that blends that out. So bring your own reference with you. And again, I just love the looks, the foldability, how they can be folded, and I like transporting them like this. They almost fit like in a briefcase type of style, but you can also coil them up and place them back into the bag. Recording voice in a vocal booth worked very well because there's very, very little sound leaking out from the playback track back into the mic. Another use case scenario for me is using them to record bass. At home, I can't crank a bass amp that loud. I want to hear the sound of my DI box. I want to hear the articulation on the bass, and not every headphone is great at reproducing a bass recording. And so they are doing extremely well with that. Natural. I also like that the cable is on the left-hand side, makes it a bit easier to play. So maybe they thought of that. And another usage, of course, with headphones is podcasting. Even if you just do Zoom calls at home or you are having an elaborate setup, these are great. They'll give you the voice in clarity, they give you the depth of the voice, just to make sure you get that close proximity sound when you're talking to these big dynamic podcaster mics. It does that very well. And again, they stay cool. That's the other thing. You don't start sweating. I noticed that some headphones, it gets really, really warm in them. And that's something they talked about. They didn't want them to get warm. For traveling, again, the lightweight, the way you can fold them, and the fact that they are 25 ohms allows them to be used in airport lounges, on your laptop. If you have a dongle, you can plug them into Apple devices, iPhones, iPads. They work very well with that. So I think Austrian-Audio really checked a lot of boxes with that headphone. Professional usage, reference sound, quality, without being overly analytical, so it doesn't get ear fatiguing. And then, of course, the noise rejection, sort of like that passive seal that's on your ears, creating that private space, preventing sound from going out when recording vocals or podcasts, but also sound from coming in and making things hard to hear in loud front of house environments. And these headphones are not there. They're not there to please you. They are not consumer headphones. they give you enough analysis, let's put it that way, but they don't lose track of the big picture. If you have too much bass in these headphones, you have too much bass. If these headphones sound harsh, it's harsh. So they're a pretty good indicator to get a mix done right. There you go, Austrian-audio Hi-X60. Enjoy, massive beats out. Guten Tag, schönen Gruß, gute Nacht.
Hast du den Geld gekauft? Naja, gut.
Seit 1998 oder warten wir auf...
Seit 1974 wartet darauf Geld.
Dass da einer reinkommt mit einem gelben Koffer, den auf den Tisch knallt, aufmacht und da ist es geschlichtet. Und dann war's es, dann wird zugemacht. Da ja. Tag.
Ja, dann kommt er her.
Nein, da ist er.
Ach so. Guten Morgen. Ja. Weiß er nicht. Ja, geht.